What's going on, y'all? This is Mac, and I just jumped off the porch with Dirty Glove Bastard. Holla.
I couldn't tell him what it feel like, but I can tell him it feel right. I finally got some sleep last.
All right, so we got the legendary Mac jumping off the porch with us today, man.
Yes, I'm on the porch off the porch today.
Yes, sir, man. First off, it's an honor to have you on here, Mac.
Oh, man, I'm honored to be here. I got to stretch my knees out. I'm old. Y'all know I'm old. Y'all know I'm old.
Yeah, man. So we know you're in Atlanta for this No Limit reunion concert, man.
Yeah.
How's the tour been so far, man?
Very interesting. It's been great. The tour has been great. Me, I've been very interesting. That's what I would say. It was kind of weird getting on stage after so many years.
I can only imagine.
And not going from like being in prison to performing in front of 200 people, 300 people. No, they like propelled me in front of an arena, and I'm like, yo, like, yeah. So it was kind of like a culture. It was sensory overload, as you would say. But I think the last 2 shows I've gotten kind of adjusted.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what you think of these crowds, man? You know, nowadays everyone's holding the cell phone.
Right.
It wasn't like that back when you was doing these shows, man.
That's been quite interesting. Well, technology has really been, it has been something that I've really been enjoying. And to be honest, the crowd's been showing a lot of love, so that's cool. But I'm just trying to get reacclimated to everything, so.
Yeah, I would just want to ask, I don't know if you can put it into words, but how would you describe these last 5 months since you touched back home?
Man, I've been happy. I've been happy about everything. I don't know why people mad. I'm so happy I'm out that box. It feels so good to not be counted. Because, you know, in prison, you get counted like every couple hours that people got to count you, and it just feels good to not be on that count, man. Just to enjoy being with my family, to enjoy traveling, to be here, you know, to be able to actually move around. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, I was happy when I learned that you were able to travel too, because I think at first it was kind of up in the air, right, if you were going to be able to join these shows.
Well, I have some restrictions as far as on, you know, some of the restrictions that was given to me as far as my parole is concerned, but luckily, you know, I've been given a little bit of room to actually make a living, so that's been good.
Absolutely. So is this kind of how you imagined it when you did come home? Does it feel surreal? Is it, like you said, you're happy, man. Are you happier than you thought you would be, or?
Surreal is a good word. I kind of use that often. It was, everything's going great, and I'm just anxious to see where it's gonna go, what it's gonna lead to, but I'm having fun.
Yeah. So what was your reaction? What type of emotions went through you when you were finally granted the parole after 21 years?
I think I cried. I think they have it on, and boy, I kind of looked at myself when I actually saw the tape of me crying. I was like, look at this dummy. But as I was doing it, I was just overwhelmed, man. It was like good tears, so it was good.
Yeah. Can you kind of speak on that journey for those 21 years? If you just continuously fighting, not giving up, like, and I know I'm innocent, man. They gotta let me out this place.
Right. Well, the crazy thing is, I thought I was getting out every year, and and my partners and my wife will tell you every year I was like, yo, this is gonna be the year. This is gonna be the year. And I think that hope that every year that it was gonna happen is what gave me a focal point. It gave me a focus, and it kind of kept me on point of what I needed to do to get out of there, or to prepare myself for the opportunity when that opportunity presented itself. And because if not, I think if I would have ever just accepted the reality that I was going to be in prison, I don't think things would have turned out so good. I probably would still be in prison with a couple more charges for doing some crazy stuff. But I always had that hope, man, that I was going home like tomorrow. Yeah. You know.
And it's my understanding you didn't get in any trouble whatsoever while you were locked up.
While I was in prison?
Correct.
Oh, hell no. See, one thing about prison has a way of kind of like, it's a forced, a subconsciously forced respect. Because, you know, like, I get out of here and I see how guys get into it on social media and everything, and you know, for the most part, it's youngsters, and they, you know, they really don't know yet. and you gotta give them room for their mind to develop. But you can't like threaten a man and then go to sleep in the same dorm with him. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, you either gonna really be about that or you gonna leave that alone. Cause I mean, there's no cells in the prisons in the population, the general population in Louisiana. So in general population, it's like one big open flat. We all got beds in there. So you ain't gonna just be telling somebody, and then go to sleep. You see what I'm saying? So you kind of just learn how to deal with different personalities. And that's what I caught on, and I caught on quick.
Yeah, I understand. So where were you at mentally when you first went in? You know, after that trial.
So after the trial?
Yeah.
All right, first day in jail, man, I was scared to death. I'm gonna be straight up with you. I had never been in jail before, so you hear all these stories about like, man, you know, you got this guy with this knife, and some of those stories are actually true. This kind of stuff happens. But my first day there, I remember walking in the dorm. They told me I was going to like, there was a cell like upstairs, right? So when I walk in, I see a guy standing by the television. He got no shirt on, got a rag tie around his head, and he looked like he running shit. So he's standing there by the TV, and he, you know, pointing at the TV. So in my mind, I was so scared. Let me tell you what fear do you. So I was so scared in my mind. I'm like, yeah, I got him. I'm gonna do him something, because he must be the one running the till. So I got to get him first. That's what my mind was at, right? So I walked, and I looked at the guy that was standing next to the cell that I was supposed to go to, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna throw him over the balcony. So I came up the stairs, and there was a guy that shook my hand, and he was like, what's up, Mac? I was feeling your music on the streets. So he shook my hand, and he walked off. I'm like, yeah, he trying to play me, I'm gonna get him. So, you know, I was just paranoid. I'm like, everybody in the dorm, I think I plotted on killing probably about 4 people in the dorm. I was so scared. But that's what fear do you.
So did you get like, was that the common thing where you got a lot of respect because people were familiar with your music at the time, or?
Man, prison don't care. You gotta earn it. You know, you had people that really liked, that were probably fans of the music, but if you come in prison and you think that because people was listening to your music on the street that you gonna have a free ride, ain't gonna happen for you, because some people gonna test you to see if you really, really bout what you're saying on these songs. And for me, I think my personality, I think I genuinely have a welcoming personality, so I was cool, but you also gotta set boundaries. So, you know, as men, we set boundaries, and I never really had problems like that. It was mutual respect. I give it, and it was given.
Mm-hmm. And you were in there mentoring younger people too, right?
Yeah, see, that was after I had to mature enough to get to that point where I was mentoring people, because I probably needed to be mentored my first couple years there, you know.
Because you were what, 22 when you went in?
Yeah, I was ready to war every day. I was prepared to go to war. I thought it was, Saving Private Ryan or something at the time. But over time, I learned that, it's really just about how you treat people, man, and that's universal, whether you're in prison, because people in prison are human, and you have the same things in prison that you had on the street. You got those guys, you know, when you get there, you have the crowd that's doing drugs, the crowd that's gambling, the crowd that's into, you know, you got that crowd, and then you have the guys that's going to, the education building, that's in the law library trying to fight their way up out of there. And me, I like to win. So when you're in prison, a win is getting out, right? Mm-hmm. So I just noticed that the guys that were getting out were the guys that was in the law library, getting the education and doing those things. So that's what I gravitated toward. Now, if I'd have saw all of the guys that was over here doing this foolishness getting out, I probably would have started that foolishness. But I wanted out of there, man. And, that was just what I chose to do.
So how much did you learn about the law while being in there, just kind of trying to study up and figure out, all right, maybe I can get out doing this way?
Man, I read a lot of stuff, but I'm gonna tell you, law jargon gives me a headache. I'm gonna be honest with you. Reading all them Latin words and all them paragraphs, them little bitty small little words that's that long, I ain't got time for that. It was really giving me a headache. So I'm kind of a person that go to the meat of a thing to find out, okay, what what do I need? What do I really need? Bring me to that paragraph, let me read it thoroughly, and then let me move on. I'm not the one that's gonna sit there and read a whole law book, because if it's something that doesn't concerns my situation, then I really ain't give it my attention. I want it out of there. So if it didn't have anything to do with me getting out of there concerning me, I wasn't really giving it my attention.
Yeah, understood. So were you writing while in there, or like were you even thinking about rapping, or was that just not even on your mind at the time?
I wrote sometimes. You know, rapping, writing is therapeutic for me. So I wrote sometimes. I went stretches where I didn't write anything. You know, then sometimes I would write a piece of a song. Some songs took me 5 minutes to write. Some songs took me 5 years or 10 years. Oh, wow. It just depended on how I felt at the time.
Yeah. So what was your reaction when, I don't know if you got transferred to Hunt or if C Murder got transferred to Hunt, but when y'all were basically in the same prison
together? Oh, so here's the crazy weird thing. I was at Hunt already. I was called to one of the administration offices, and I was basically put in a room by a couple of administrators, and they were like, look, we brought your boy here, all right? I'm like, okay, all right. I said, all right, I get the F out of my office. That was how I went. I left out there. Well, I could curse on. Get the fuck out of my office. All right, so yeah, I left out of the office. And he came, and man, it was just good to be around him. It was bittersweet, because a part of me, you know what I mean, it felt good to have him there, have someone I can relate to, where I can, you know, talk about our past memories and stuff. But it also was, you know, it hurt me to see him in that position, because he's in a much more serious position than me. So, like, every day that we spent in each other's, every moment, I should say, because we was around each other a lot every day that we spent in each other's presence, I kind of just felt, you know, I felt good to be there, but when I walked away from him, I just felt bad for him, man, because his situation is, you know, life. And when Louisiana say life, they mean life. Yeah. You know.
How was he holding up mentally?
Oh, well, C was good. You know, C is a fighter, man. He's strong. So, you know, he's one of those people. He's not going to stop. He's going to fight to get out of prison with every breath, man. So he's going to fight. And he actually made some progress in his case. And I'm just praying, man, and we all just hoping that his freedom will come soon, because I'm not going to really be totally satisfied, you know what I mean, until he here. Yeah. Because a part of me just feel guilty for leaving him, you know. And I know that, no, I wanted to get out, and guess what? He's more happier that I'm out than anybody else.
Really?
But just a part of me just feel like, man, I wish I could have just put him in my coat or something and snuck him out of there,
right?
You know what I mean?
What was you guys' conversations like? Like, did you both look at each other like, how the hell did we end up here?
We laughed about it. We used to be sitting there on the bed like, how in the hell did we end up in, man, we just was in France, we was just in, you know, wherever, man, and we didn't dwell on it. We actually kind of made light of it and just, you know, we try to keep each other in good spirits.
Yeah. You know, there was a whole Free Mac campaign going on. Were you aware of everything that was going on as far as social media wise?
Before he got locked up, he was one of the people, one of the initiators of it before he got locked up, because he used to come see me in the parish like every 2 weeks. He'd come visit me, and man, when he got locked up, I was like, damn, man, you know. But yeah, I was aware of it. It was my mother was basically at the forefront when I first got arrested, man. My mother didn't know what to do. We had no knowledge of how the system worked as far as from that perspective, but my mother did the only thing that she felt she could do, and she just told my story to whoever would listen, whatever media platform, whoever would give her their attention, she told it, and she just was fighting and just, you know, every year, man, my mom was on TV more than anybody I ever met, just trying to tell somebody, my son is innocent, my son is innocent. And I just, you know, I love her for it. And then, you know, over the years, I started meeting investigators, I started meeting college students. You know, I eventually met my wife, who was also a big advocate of mine, who spoke at my hearing to get me out of here. Then I had people like my homie Kane, who was pushing the Free Mac movement online. You had brothers like D1, who I met along the way. and they were all like big supporters. And it was just good to have so much support because there's a lot of brothers that's still in there that don't have that support and won't, you know what I mean, for whatever reason.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Fiend, even when he visited you guys a few times
Fiend,
too, man.
I forgot to mention Fiend. Yeah, Fiend came through.
What were the conditions like inside the prison during COVID? Like during its
In the
peak?
prison? They shut everything down, of course. You know, they stopped visitation. They basically stopped anybody from coming in or out of the prison because it was, you know, it's one of those situations where you're in a enclosed environment and something like COVID can be detrimental when you're in a an institution, or rather, whether it was a college campus or a prison, a hospital, anywhere where there's a dense population of people, it could be bad. So they shut everything down at the prison.
Yeah. So you finally get freed. What's the first thing you do, man?
The first thing I did, Bambino, what's the first thing I did when I got out? I went to go eat some shrimps.
Some shrimp?
Yeah.
Where'd you
went
go?
To, my partner, my manager, Russell, they had a restaurant called Dunbar's. He picked me up and I was like, yo, I need to go eat some shrimp. So that's what I wanted to do. I hadn't had shrimp in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you end up meeting your wife while you were locked up?
I don't know, that might be a question for her. How did I meet you? Nah, she was, we hooked up on business, actually. She's a publicist. And it was concerning some interviews that I was asked to do, and we just started communicating with each other on a regular basis. And something happened. And, you know, we've been together now for about, almost 9 years?
Oh, wow.
Something like that. We got married in 2018. Actually, Corey C. Murder was the best man at my wedding because we got married on the yard. My homie Stan was in it, my homie Bride, who I grew up with, her father and family, my family, we all was there. Yeah. So they let me have probably as nice of a wedding as you can have in the Bing. Yeah. So I was thankful for that.
Just like how inspiring and motivating was that, like, all right, now I have something really to come home to, man.
That was pressure.
Pressure.
You know, marriage is pressure, you know. Ain't that right, baby? Marriage is pressure. Nah, it was good, you know, to have somebody who was there for me. Like, you know, I'm pretty private, so I don't know if y'all noticed, but I'm kind of private. And she basically helps me with a lot to readjust to things, and I needed that.
So what's been like kind of just reading, have you been able to read some of the comments though of like all the support that you've been having? And
yeah, man, that's humbling. That's humbling. That's humbling. And I appreciate those people, man, because that carried me a long way in the journey. Carried me along. Wait, I can't say that on this show. The journey is what we call prison in New Orleans. We say the journey.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, so 21 Summers, man.
Yeah.
Is this something you wrote while you were locked up?
Now, this is weird. I actually wrote 21 Summers is about how I felt when I got out, right? But I actually wrote it while I was still in. I wrote 21 Summers while I was fire watching for a welder at the bottom of a boat when I was working on the shipyard right before I got out. Jeez. I was in work release and I was at the bottom of the boat. I was sweating bricks because it was hot as hell. Fire was everywhere. The guy was welding. And it just came to me. And I was imagining what I would feel like once I'm out. And everything that I imagined pretty much came into fruition.
Yeah. So did Monster Beats, did they construct the beat around your lyrics, or did you just find the beat that kind of matched it?
All right, so what happened was I actually wrote the arrangement to it, and I gave them my idea of what I wanted, and I kind of did what I call a dummy track.
Okay.
I did a dummy track of it, and I played the piano chords and stuff, and I sent it to him, and I'm like, yo, I want to take a combination of what I arranged and some of that flavor y'all got, because I like their sound. So when he sent it back, I was like, oh snap, this is it, this is it. So that was pretty much how that one came along. Okay. And Dart, shout out to Dart because he contributed too. Dart is a former rapper slash producer. He still do his thing, but he was with a group in New Orleans called 39 Posse years ago. Like, and KLC, who is part of Beats by the Pound, him and Dart was all in the group together. But Dart also played a part in the arrangement of the music.
Okay. Did you learn how to play piano while locked up, or was that something you knew beforehand?
Well, I've been kind of doodling around with keyboards since about 13, 14, somewhere around up in there. But I didn't really know how to play. I didn't really know how to read music. I just knew what I wanted to hear, and I can go play around until I hear the notes I wanted to hear. Because I used to actually sit and watch Mannie Fresh for hours when he would put tracks together. I was a kid, like 10, 11 years old, and I was just watching. But when I got to prison and I had a lot of time on my hand, I just used to go to the music room and get on the piano for hours just to relieve some stress.
Oh, yeah.
So once I felt I learned the piano enough, I started doing the same thing with the bass guitar, with the drums, and just trying to find my way around everything.
Yeah. So, you started off as Lil Mac.
Right.
Oh, man. How old were you when you first started rapping? Like, you were recording songs, putting out songs, I think we were like 10, 11, was it?
Right. Well, I wrote my first rhyme in '84. You can blame New Edition's Cool It Now for that. I saw Cool It Now by New Edition, and I knew right then and there what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I wrote a rap, and I spit it for the person closest to me that I knew that rap. And it was a guy named Sporty T, who was best friends with my uncle. He was part of one half of a rap group in New Orleans called the Ninja Crew. So I spit it for him. He was like, I was like 7 or 8, and he was like 8, 19, something like that. So I spit it for him, and he looked at me and he said, man, that shit is whack. You ain't gonna make it nowhere with that. So I'm like, damn. So I ran and had to write another one, and I came to him. He like, nah, they ain't gonna cut it. And I just kept on writing and spitting for him until I felt it was something that he would like. But in hindsight, I'm like, damn, how you grown and you tell a 7-year-old kid that shit whack? You ain't got no heart, man. But he was one of the dopest MCs, rest in peace, he's deceased. But he was one of the dopest MCs, and he was actually my inspiration for really wanting to dive into it, because I just wanted that I wanted to flow like him because he was dope. And by the time I met Mannie Fresh, I was 10 maybe, and I started working with him and his partner, which was Gregory D, and they were my first producers. They produced my first album, Lyrical Midget, when I was 12. It came out in '89, I think, '89 or '90, something like that.
And you were signed back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what'd your parents think? Like, you signed
I begged my parents to sign it, and my parents were like, look, we're gonna do this for you, but if your grades drop, this contract is null and void. So, man, I had like straight A's. I was making sure I had straight A's because I still wanted to do that. And I would be up all night in the studio, and Mannie Fresh and the other producer, they would like feed me coffee at 11 years old. That's why I hate coffee today. I was in the studio all night drinking coffee so I could stay up and be able to go to class the next morning. So to this day, I hate coffee. Thank you, Gregory D and Mannie Fresh.
That's wild. How'd you link up with BG?
Oh man, I've been knowing Doogie since Doogie was a little kid. And I'm gonna just tell you something. BG has the right name, Baby Gangster. He was a terrible child. That was a badass little boy running through the neighborhood. But he was always had a bright smile, and he was just that kid in the neighborhood who all us just loved. Everybody loved, man. And when I ran into him to do the song, I was signed to a label called Ionic at the time, me and my homegirl Storm, who lives out here in ATL. So we were recording, and BG was there recording Chopper City because they had this state-of-the-art studio owned by the man who was over our record label that I was on at the time. And he came to me, he like, yo, man, they got this dope beat, I want you to hear it. I want you to spit something on it. So that's how that song came about.
Oh, that's really dope, man.
Mm-hmm.
So how'd you get introduced to Master P, and how old were you at the time?
I met P, I believe, for the first time in '96. late 96. I had just quit my job. I was a damn security guard with no gun,
In New
no
Orleans?
flashlight. I didn't even have a flashlight. So I just quit the job, and my partner Wild Wayne had hooked me up a meeting with one of the executives from Def Jam at the time. So I went in the meeting, I rapped for him, I played my demo. He liked it, he was interested, and he was basically talking about, me coming out to New York. And, I was like, man. So when I left out the room from that meeting, I ran into P on the elevator.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, yo, we got a party upstairs. And it was my first time like talking face to face with him. But I had met him, I think, at Cain and Abel's video shoot because I rapped on one of their songs. And I went to the studio that next Thursday, and I had never went back home after that. After I went that day, I was living in Baton Rouge at that point, and just working on music. And at that time, everything was good.
Okay. So what was it like creating Shell Shocked?
I don't know. The weird thing is, I didn't like Shell Shock was not compiled as at the time like, okay, I'm about to work on this album called Shell Shock. No. It was just a whole bunch of songs that I was picking, just like, all right, they were like, dude, we need to come up with a title for your album. I came up with Shell Shock.
Really?
Yeah, because that was a dedication to my pops. And I actually have on one of my dad's friends' field jacket on the album cover from the war, because my dad's a Vietnam vet. And that's pretty much how Shell Shock came about. The whole album was just kind of put together in a couple days.
Yeah. It was very successful. I think it went gold, right?
Yeah, and it was kind of, it was weird because it was something that, I was new to at the time, as far as just, because I had been rapping a long time, but just to see people response to it, man, it was humbling.
Yeah. What were these recording sessions like while you were with No Limit? Because you guys were pumping out so much music. Was it like set in stone, all right, Matt gets a session now, everyone just comes through, or was it just, everyone just in the studio just cooking up?
Man, I'm gonna say this, the Colonel was running that label like a what you call it, like a Ford car company. It's just like, everything was just, we really didn't have time, we had so many artists on No Limit that and we had, the studio wasn't that big, so it was like, yo, this one working on their songs at this time, this one working on their songs at that time, so we were all basically just trying to push this stuff through to get them done, to meet these deadlines, because these deadlines was coming.
Oh, wow.
And it was a gift and a curse. I think the gift was we was putting the product out there, and I don't think anybody can deny it. Back then, man, No Limit was pushing product out, man, and we were like pushing out 22, 23 songs every album, so we were pushing out a large quantity of music, man, but I think the large quantity, I think it naturally just affected the quality because we didn't really get time to master all of the way we wanted these songs and albums to sound.
Yeah. And what was the chemistry like between you and like KLC and the rest of the Beats by the Pound?
Oh, it was cool. I went to certain members of Beats by the Pound for certain things. If I wanted something hype, I wanted something that just, made you buck, went to KL. If I wanted something that made you dance, went to Craig B. If I wanted something to make you think, I went to either Odell or Moby Dick. If I wanted something that was like gangster, I went to Carlos. You know what I mean? So all of them had different flavors, and that was probably the best thing about Beats by the Pound.
Yeah. And did you get along right away with the other No Limit artists? Did you already have prior relationships with them, or?
Oh, the weird thing is I knew everybody on No Limit except P. So before I signed to the label, like I knew Mia, I knew Cain and Abel, I knew Fiend. Me and Fiend, Fiend right there, Been knowing Fiend since when I met you, Fiend, Rick. what about 10 or 11 something? Man, me and Rick met playing football in the middle of the street. Yeah, so we was like kids.
So it was all organic at the time then, huh?
Yeah, and that was pretty much part of the reason why I felt comfortable with signing with No Limit, because I knew everybody at No Limit, except, P.
Yeah. You mentioned touring overseas. What was that experience like for you?
Oh man, that was crazy. Rick could tell you.
I've heard some of his stories.
Was weird. That was crazy. We had a fight, man, in France. That was crazy. It was so great, man, to be able to travel that far around the world at 21 years old. But for me, it happened at an age where I don't even think I was mature enough to understand the enormity of what that meant. And I sometimes just think about how, man, if I would have known some of the history of some of those places, I probably would have enjoyed my trip a little more. Because I was I was there, but it's like I was just young, man. I was just immature.
Yeah, understood. You got the chance to work with Nas. People always like to compare you to like a Down South Nas.
And that's and that's, I'm gonna just tell you that one there, that's a heavy cross to bear to be talking about you sound like Nas. Nas a beast. My work with Nas happened not as, what's the word? It wasn't as mysterious as one would think. It just happened like this. People was like, yo, I played something for P. He was like, who you want on this? I said, I want Nas on it. Just that simple, right? So played the song. He was like, yo, what you want to do with that song? I'm like, man, this song here, my baby. This is my song. So he was like, man, what you want to do with it? I was like, man, this is my baby, bro. I want this on my such and such album. I want Nas on it. So he left out the room. Then he came back and he handed me a check. So when I looked at the check, I said, look, you can keep the CD. I'm gonna go get the case for you. It's in the car. You know what I mean? So I basically gave him that song and he put it on Only God's Judgment.
Yeah.
And Nas did his verse, I think, in either New York or Cali, and he mailed it in. Yeah.
Did you ever get to meet him, though?
Yeah, I met Nas before I got with No Limit.
Oh, okay. So what was that? What was that like?
I met Nas, me and Sam was together. We met Nas in front of the House of Blues. He was down here for a concert. Nas was he was a laid back brother, real laid back.
So did you already have like the 2 verses written and done when you gave it to P?
Yeah, okay. That was done. That was already done.
Yeah. So World War III. So was there much of a difference between creating this project and Shell Shocked, or was it pretty much still the same?
All right. World War III was a little different. World War III was more, I don't know if you gathered that, but World War III was a little more darker than Shell Shock. I think because it was a reflection of what I was probably dealing with at the time. I heard the young brother mention mental health, and I think in hindsight, I might have been a little depressed. I don't know. At the time I didn't know. We didn't talk about that kind of stuff back then. But in hindsight, I think I was a little depressed when I wrote that album, put together that album. And once again, it wasn't like I was working on an album called World War III. I just was working on a bunch of songs, and the songs were slowed more. It was more slowed down. It was more reflective, and it was, I think, a little bit darker. And I think it was just a reflection of whatever I was dealing with at the time. And I actually enjoyed it. I think it was more musical than Shell Shock.
Mm-hmm. Did you guys have much say-so in like which singles got pushed, or was that kind of just up to like P and them, like, all right, we shooting a video for this one?
I think with any record label, the record label is going to probably make the determination which songs is going to be the single.
Yeah. So were you in the process of like recording a new album?
Yeah.
Was this going to be on No Limit, or were you planning?
Yeah, I was actually doing what I had planned to be my, at the time, it was supposed to be my last album with No Limit. I was working on it, and that was the first one that I was actually working on with a title. Like I was gonna name that One Love. It was like Shell Shock, World War III, One Love, I'm out. You know what I mean? So I was working on that. Man, I think I was like 3 songs deep into it, and this happened.
Why were you planning to leave No Limit? Was it just time's up, like contract's done? I'm trying to
No,
put myself.
it wasn't like that. It was more of just I was graduating. You go to college, you don't be a student forever. You go to college, you learn what you learn, and then you graduate. You use that degree to do you. So with me, it was like, okay, I'm a graduate of No Limit University. I did this for 3 years. I learned everything I needed to learn. And now it's time for me to take what I learned and go branch and do my thing, like to start my own label.
Yeah.
And that's what I was doing.
Okay. Do you have a story about Soulja Slim you could share?
Man, I got a million stories about Soulja Slim. Soulja Slim was crazy as hell. Look, me and Slim been knowing each other since we was children. Like my mom and his mom like went to high school together. I actually met Anthony Murray, who was his business partner. I met him a couple of days ago. And he was like, man, Slim used to always talk about you, man. He used to always tell me. And one morning, I'm gonna tell you something. Slim is crazy as hell. Slim come got me one day. No, scratch that story. I can't really say that on TV. So look, I'm gonna think of something else. I'm trying to think of one of the more. Slim had a fight with somebody one day. Came to my hotel room door, knocked on the door, and put his lip in the peephole where the dude punched him. So I looked. I opened the door, he's laughing. He said, "Round, boy, that bitch ass nigga dealt with me." So I'm just like, this dude is just, Slim is crazy. Slim was one of the funniest dudes you could ever be around. And anybody who know you will tell you that. He was just a live spirit. He kept everything live, you know what I mean? He always was energetic. He always had some jokes. He was gonna rib you. He was gonna clown you. He was gonna cap on you, whatever you want to call it. He was gonna cap on you. And he was always entertaining, even without trying to. He just was a naturally funny dude. And that was it.
Yeah, long live Soulja Slim, man. What about a story about Mr. Magic?
Mr. Magic? Oh, me and Magic was cool. Me and Magic actually had an argument in the back of a cab in France because he was cursing the cab driver out while the cab driver was trying to get us back to the hotel. And I'm telling him, motherfucker, we don't know how to speak French. We don't know where we at. This man could drop us off in a dungeon. And me and him was in the back seat we laughed about it after it was over, but I was hot as fish grease at Magic because he was cussing this man out. You think you act like, he was going off. But yeah, so that's my Magic story.
Okay. What about Big Ed?
Big Ed was the homie. Me and Big Ed actually traveled together a lot because Big Ed was like a big brother, you know, on No Limit to me. So we went, me and Ed judged like talent shows together. We went to Cleveland. No, we went to Columbus, Ohio, and we were like guest judges at a high school talent show. We did a lot of traveling. We just kind of bonded. Ed was serious a lot. Like Ed was definitely not someone who did a lot of joking. And he was a guy of his word, a man of his word. He was a man of few words, but he meant what he said. And he just moved different. Like Ed just moved different. You know, he was married. He was more mature than I think a lot of us.
Yeah. So what's it been like, you know, reuniting with everyone, man? Reunite with Fiend, Mia, Mystical, all them.
It's been interesting because a lot of them ain't changed. I mean, this dude still look the same. I feel pleased.
He still sounds the same.
I got gray hair everywhere. This dude don't have no gray hair. It's weird, man, because it's like, you know, you be away for so long from something, but then when you go back to it, it's almost like you just fit right back in it. It's like, okay, let's roll. So it's been dope. Yeah. It's been dope. I hope they feeling the same way. You know? If you ain't feeling the same way, then I gotta feel some type of way about it.
How much has the city of New Orleans changed since when you first went away?
Man, the city of New Orleans has changed a lot. It changed a lot and it stayed the same a lot. Gentrification is real. So a lot of the places that was the hood are no longer the hood. And that kind of blowed my mind because I went to, like where BG is from, is a neighborhood I call the 13th Ward. So I'm in the 13th Ward recently, and I'm just standing up, and I'm like, there's a freaking Ferrari parked on the corner. And I'm like, this is the freaking hood. But it ain't the hood no more. There's a bunch of white people walking dogs, yoga studios, coffee shops, and it's just totally different. And I was just like, wow. And I'm gonna say this. I embrace the diversity because I think diversity brings a different vibe when you got people from all kinds of culture in one spot. I think it brings a different type of vibe, and it's educational because you get to learn from different people. I would go on record to say that I think people that went to diverse schools probably got a better education. I don't know if that's a fact, but that's coming from me. That's big facts. Yeah, I just had to look in the camera and look hard when I said that. But yeah, go ahead.
For sure. So, music-wise, are you like working on an album, or are you kind of just?
No, I retired, man. I'm sick of music.
That's it?
Yeah, I'm done with
21
all that.
summers.
But look, it's Friday. I be lying on Fridays, so I'm gonna tell you. So the truth of the matter is, I'm working on some music, and it'll probably be out real soon. But I do be lying on Fridays. Just
Only on Fridays?
Just on Fridays.
Why Fridays?
Yeah, my wife said I'm cool. She gave me, you know.
Oh, she gave me one day to lie.
Yeah, you can lie on Fridays. So that's what I do. I'm baby.
So what's this new music sounding like then?
I think any music is a reflection of a person's where they at in life at that time, and I'm grown, man. I'm about to be a grandfather. My son about to have 2 kids. So, you know, people have asked me over the years, like, man, when you get out, man, I know you're gonna record another Shell Shock. I'm like, Shell Shock was recorded by a 21-year-old damn fool. What the hell makes you think I'm about to get out of here and record another Shell Shock? No, I'm gonna record it, and I'm proud of Shell Shock, love it. But Shell Shock has its time and its place. I'm 44 years old. Hell no, I'm not about to get out of here and be yelling no murder, murder, kill, kill. I'm a grown ass man.
So do you perform that song?
Yes, I perform it, and I perform it too. I'm talking about I get in it, I perform it. For that moment, I'm 21 years old. Yeah. Now when I get off that stage, my knees and my back let me know that I ain't 21 years old.
You mentioned your son, and he was born like right after you had got locked up, right?
Mm-hmm. He was born actually 3 months after I got arrested.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So how difficult was that for you?
Probably one of the most difficult things I've ever had to deal with in my life. And I say that because I don't know what his experience was. I never had that experience. My father taught me everything. You know, my mom and dad now, shout out to mom and pops, they've been married for 45 years. Their anniversary is next Saturday. So, you know, and I'm the oldest of 6 kids, so I don't know what that experience is like, you know. So I can only imagine how hard it's been for him, but I know how hard it's been for me, just being in a place where I couldn't be the domineering influence on my son. Yeah. You know, so he learned what he was exposed to, you know, and it's been a tough road, but I think love conquers all, and that's pretty much my feelings on that.
Yeah. So what's these last few months been like where you're able to actually spend time with them and kind of rebuild that relationship?
It has been like any relationship. It has had its challenges, of course, because we're getting to know each other. It's like we visit in prison, but when you're there around someone every day, it's a little different. And we've been re-getting to know each other. And it's been with love, you know. And my son, if he don't know anything else, he know that I love him. And he know that he means the world to me. We may have our differences or whatnot, because I mean, distance and time created those differences and those barriers. But once again, I think love conquers all.
Yeah, absolutely.
That might be a cool phrase. I might have got that from a song or something. But yeah.
Could be your next album cover.
Nah. Too gangster for TV.
So what's next for Mac? What's the future for you, Mac?
The future, hell, well, the very first thing in the immediate future, I need to probably get back to this bed and lay down because I'm old and it's getting kind of close to my bedtime. But working on music, I'm still mentoring. I mentor through a little organization called the Son of a Saint in New Orleans. Expect to see some big things in 2022 from Mac Phipps. And that's how I'll leave that.
Okay. All right, so do you have any last words for your fans, your supporters, any shout-outs?
Man, see, last words just sound so final, man. It's like, you know, damn. I don't have any last words, but what I'll say is this. I'll wrap up by just saying, man, thank you to everyone who supported me over the years. And it's been a hell of a journey, but through that support and that love that people constantly showed, you know, it made it bearable for me. You know, it didn't make it easy, but it made it bearable. And I'm just thankful for that. So shout out to everybody out there. And I look forward to meeting y'all on the road, seeing you, you know, and hopefully y'all look forward to the same thing from me. Holla.
Beautiful.
Shout out Dirty Glove Bastard too. And I just found out what Dirty Glove Bastard meant because I'm telling you, I've been in the penitentiary, so my mind went somewhere else with it.
Don't worry, they don't know what it means either.
I couldn't tell him what it feel like, but I can tell him it feel right. I finally got some sleep last night. Laying